Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, whatever time it is, wherever, in whichever part of the world you are. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Simba.
And I'm Ivy. You can call us Mr. and Mrs. And we are joining you this lovely evening, this side of the world. And we're bringing you once again a marriage conversation. And today we have a couple on the program that we're going to chat with. We're really excited with the work that we saw them do as they celebrated their 10th anniversary in marriage. And we thought these are the kinds of testimonies that we want to hear. It's very inspiring to see what other couples are doing to keep the fire burning in their marriages. So tonight is just about inspiration. It is about learning as well, as we hear from them some of the things that they learned in the 10 years that they've been married.
100%. So without wasting too much time, we're going to call on the couple that we've invited today. They're very, very good friends of ours, KK and Tafadzwa Moyo. But before we do it, we're just going to give a big shout out to Zoe. This program is brought to you by Zoe. Zoe is our preferred, our internet service provider of choice. And so they, if you're anywhere in Zimbabwe, please go link up with Zoe. Get your fiber connection from Zoe. Get your Wi-Fi from Zoe. They have amazing prices, very reasonable prices for terrific speeds. And so you are brought to you today by Zoe. So yeah, our couple for tonight, what we're doing tonight, it's not a live program, it's a pre-recorded program because of the time differences. These guys are in Hong Kong.
Woohoo!
And we have such a huge time difference. So when it's like nicely night for us, it's like early, like morning for them. So like our 9 o'clock is like 3 or something
3
like
a.m.
that.
or something, yeah.
So it just wasn't going to work for us to do a live program with them. So we decided to do a pre-recorded show. But nonetheless, whatever we'll discuss will still hold the weight that they'll hold, even if we're doing a live program. So we love these guys. They're such good friends of ours, Mr. and Mrs. Moyo, KK and Taz. Kanyisa Kaya Moyo and Tafadzwa Moyo. Welcome, guys. It's so good to have you. Maybe just a bit of a background. So they have celebrated their 10th anniversary in marriage, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so they decided to do a video series where they were talking about the things that they have learned in these 10 years that they've been married. And so they were so inspiring and so followed by so many people that we thought, you know what, we definitely needed to do a full-length program with them to talk about some of the things that they learned. Because they also then reminded us about, when we did 12 things that we learned in 12 years of marriage. Some months back, just when the lockdown just began. And so
April, baby, that's when our anniversary is.
In April. In April. So it was so interesting that the things that they learned in their 10 years of marriage, when you put them in contrast with what we learned in our 12 years, there are things that are similar, but there are things that are so different. And so we thought, you know what, no one marriage is the same. And so the things that you are going through in your own marriage, could be totally different from the way that other people are going, or from the things that other people are going through. Or you could be going through the same things, but you may have different approaches, to solve the different problems that you're facing. So we invited them over and said, you know what, guys, we're going to talk about the things that you've learned in your 10 years of marriage. So KK, Taz, thank you so much for coming through, guys.
God bless you guys. Greetings from Hong Kong. It's great to be on Mr. and Mrs. again. It feels like yesterday that we were doing the love languages series, and how time flies. But guys, we're so happy to be on the show, and thank you for having us.
Yeah. And like KK has just said, thank you for having us. And it's amazing how marriages are so different, but sometimes the lessons are the same and sometimes they're different. And how we handle them is so different. But it's been quite a journey with our 10 years and your 12 years. And a big part of those years, we have been praying together with you guys. And we've seen each other's journey and the ups and downs and going together. So it's very exciting being on the show with you guys.
I think from what I got from your videos, I was very inspired by the fact that, each couple needs to be taking every year and looking back and thinking, what did we learn? Which is something that we saw. I mean, you documented everything precisely to say this year, this was what was happening in this year. So maybe take us through to how you came about that, to actually really remember. Is it something that you were writing down every year when something happened? Or maybe you then sat down at the 10 years and tried to remember? How did you do that?
I can tell you now that she writes down everything. She writes that. That's point number one. Marriages, couples out there, make sure one of you is journalizing your journey, because I wasn't doing any of that. I was not writing anything, but she just brought out this secret journal which had all the dates and where we did what and how we did. You know, it's just so yes, all credit goes to Mrs. Moyo here, the better married. Yeah, so that just to answer your question, Ivy, there was a journal, there was a record, and I'm so grateful that she did that, because you know that's something that you can then pass on to your kids, you know, and to others down the line. So that actually made the video series a lot easier, because we had a reference, we had stuff written down. So we did actually have some stuff that we did.
But Tafadzwa, what drove you to do that? I mean, I think for most couples, like even when I was watching you, I was thinking, do I remember when? I know things happened 2 years into our marriage. I know things happened, but do I really know when and you know how it happened? So what drove you to start journaling the things that were happening in your marriage?
Okay, so generally I've journaled from 2006 quite consistently up to now. And the amazing thing is I started journaling when I actually met KK. That's the year I met him. And that's when I felt prompted to start journaling everything that was happening. And the words that I would hear from God, or we would hear from God, whether it's to do with the marriage or our lives, or even sometimes other people, I've journaled from that time, which is about 14 years now. I've been journaling. So when I wanted to remember some of the things, I would go back. But it was simply God, right? He would remind us. Sometimes you can journal something, but you have to remember how you felt at that time, what was going through you, for you to you know, and sometimes that is just the Holy Spirit. It's not really, But I think the journal helps in jogging your memory. And that's all I can say.
So good though, and I love what you said, that you know in every couple there is someone who pays that much attention to detail, and a lot of times we overlook that and we think it doesn't matter. Really, it's not important. But I love how journaling will not only serve the purpose of reminding you, but also help you to celebrate the wins. Because sometimes we go through certain things that we're going through and we think we're never going to come out of this. This is such a terrible season that we're in, and we come out of it. And we forget that, it was such a moment, like what you said, that you need to know what you were feeling during that time. Yeah. And so even when you come across another issue, it's easier for you because you've got reference of the past to say, we once went through this thing. And we overcame. Listen, look at this. We overcame this thing, and here we are today. So obviously, if we overcame that, we're definitely going to be able to overcome this. So that's it's such a good point. And I think in our family, I think I'm the one.
Yeah, but he documents, in an interesting way, because he likes pictures, he likes videos. So with anything, he wants to, take a video or take a picture. Even the stuff that we're doing with Mr. and Mrs. These recordings, you record the setup and say, we'll look back and say this is how we began and things like that. So he documents in that way. As for me, let's go with the flow.
So that's such a key point.
Yeah.
I like the point that you brought up. For me, more than anything else, the journal helps to remind me of what God has done before, like you said. So there's some down moments in life, and then God will say, go back to 2010, go back to this year. And then when you go back, I feel so inspired by our own stories. I would have forgotten, after that. And then, we encourage each other, look at what God did back then. Yeah. So that's mostly what it's also for.
So back to the videos, what inspired you guys to come up with these videos? We're actually just commenting that you find that in, I'm going to go to culture here. So you find it's not common to broadcast your successes, especially when it comes to marriage, because yeah, people have all sorts of imaginations and thoughts about, so people don't want to broadcast it in that way. But what led you guys to say, let's do this, the 10 videos that you did?
I'll start, and then I'll let Mrs. Moyo add on to that. First of all, just going back a little bit now, 12 years, guys, well done. Absolutely well done. It's not easy. We've just done 10 years now. We're right on the heels of you guys, and there are many other couples at various stages of their journey. I think for us, the most important thing, being people of faith, is how we're always told that it's not about you, but it's up to you. The statistics that we see in the world today concerning marriages and how many of them are collapsing at a very early stage is frightening. And it means that something is wrong somewhere, and we thought that celebrating 10 years, not only is it a milestone for us, because the truth of the matter is, even after 10 years, even if you've been married for 1 year, you've got something to say.
Exactly.
Even if it's 2 months or 3 months, whatever period that you've been married for, you have got a story. And we wanted to, not only remind ourselves of where we've come from as a couple, but we say to ourselves, why don't we share this journey? It hasn't been a perfect journey. I don't think there can ever be one. But we have gone through some experiences that we feel someone out there who may be going through, or a couple out there who may be going through similar challenges or even worse, could be strengthened, and they can actually find solace and help in the videos that we then made. So it was a project that at first I was a bit skeptical. I thought, as Ivy was saying, it's a personal thing. Why do I want to share why do we want to share our story with the rest of the world? That's how connected the world is today. But we had to become unselfish and really begin to just be vulnerable to everyone out there and say, listen, we've got nothing to hide. We've walked a journey, and we just want to share that journey. And if it helps you, God bless you. And if it doesn't, well, God bless you again. But it was all about sharing the story and sharing the journey and reminding ourselves of how far we've come and where we're going. And I think that's really it for me. I'm sure she's got something more to say.
I think that's it. But we, just adding on to what he said, we really felt impressed to do it by the Holy Spirit. At first, we were hesitant, and we were like, how will this look? How will it work? Will it even help anyone? You've got so many things that you're saying and you're questioning. But then we said, let's just do it. And it was the most amazing thing that we did, for our 10-year anniversary. We had other plans, and then this year COVID happened. And then God is like, you should do this. And so, we enjoyed it. It made us reflect. And some people giving feedback. It really helped quite a lot of people. So I think it was worth it. Even if it was going to help one marriage, I think it was worth it. So,
I think what you guys did really touched on the heart of what we are doing as Mr. and Mrs. Because I think sometimes people think or misconstrue what you're doing and think it's to draw attention to yourself. But the agenda and the drive is to help couples and helping them by, giving them that platform, number one, to talk about, marriage issues. And number two, to just show that there is life in marriage. I mean, there's so much negativity that is going on out there, concerning marriage. But this is a platform to really show that, marriage does work. And you guys did an amazing job. I mean, we would go through some of the comments that people were posting as you were doing your videos. And we're like, this is it. This is it. So, our prayer is that many more couples, caught onto it. And the more the people share success stories of marriage, the more that we revive God's intention with marriage.
Before we've even gotten into the videos themselves, there are already two key things that I've picked up from things that you've spoken about. Number one, journal your journey. And number two, share your journey, tell your story. So that's already, it's actually quite amazing. So, you know, let's get into the meat of it. Talk to us about the things that you have learned in the 10 years of your marriage, you know, the experiences, the ups and the highs, the lows, the, you know, the downs that you've experienced as husband and wife.
Wow. Madam, please proceed.
Okay. I think the 10 videos were quite long, especially getting to the end, but we'll just highlight some of the things. But I think as an overview, the major, even as we discussed with KK, the major aspect I think that we learned over the 10 years was communication. And I think it's so crucial in a marriage. And, you know, recently we were going through Marriage on the Rock, and there was a nugget that really struck me, which I thought this is very true. It said, if you have a good marriage, it means you have good communication. So the reverse is true.
Right.
So it's hinging on communication and then everything else. So if you can't even communicate about difficult issues or even the easier issues, you argue over who drank the water or whatever it is, then it's a problem already.
Yeah.
So I think the major issue was communication throughout the 10 years. And I'll just start with year 1, which we said it was a honeymoon year, and we were talking about unity and really becoming one. We were coming from different backgrounds, and so it meant we were doing things differently. Even as people, we've got different personalities, and KK talked about how I love budgeting, and he was like, what is going on? You know? When I brought out the Excel sheet, you know, that kind of thing. So what I thought was normal, he thought, what is going on? So it was about then sitting down and saying, okay, him saying, this doesn't work for me. And me saying, okay, so how will it work for you? You know, and we still need to budget. How can we do it? So now we don't do it on Excel. We do it on WhatsApp. I will draw up a budget, send it to him. If he agrees, then it's a go. If he doesn't, you know, but we found ways to work around it. Yeah. So that was,
you know,
like,
it's so interesting though, because we are so different, but we are alike. You know, couples are different out there, but we're all the same, really, if you think about it. It's just always that one person within the couple who is a stickler for, and there's that one person who's just free-spirited.
let's just spend.
Exactly. Come on, let's heal the world. Let's make it a better place. Let's just spread the word.
Let's spread it around.
You know, the key is communication and identifying, understanding, and not belittling, you know, who does what. Look, if you're the budgeting one, not to belittle the process of budgeting. And if you're the non-budgeting one, not to belittle the process of whatever, that, you know, you don't cause that, you don't use that as a weapon against your spouse, but to understand that it's actually a strength. And, you know, that's what you did, to understand that that's a strength. Budgeting is a strength, but at the same time, not budgeting also is a strength, depending on how much you balance the two. You know, you don't want to go on the other extreme of things, like we did when we shared our 12 of the budgeting one, you know. But we started noticing that because of how structured I am in terms of my budget, I would tend to become stingy in some of the things. I say, you know, we can't do this. We can't spend this because it's not in the budget. And so, you know, become very rigid and very, you know, and so you break when you're not rigid, when you're very rigid and flexible.
Yeah. I mean, year 1 was exciting, and you know, no matter how much preparation you do, until you actually get into the first year and actually go through the motions, and, you know, no amount of preparation, I think, prior to that first year can really get you ready for the first year. Because when you get into the first year, you know, it's not like you've had your wedding. The next day, it's like, wow, the two have just become one, you know, and everyone is just, you know, singing Kumbaya, and everyone is okay. You know, the truth of the matter is there are 2 individuals that are entering that home the very next day. All right. And it's when you go through the emotions of the first year, as the days tick by, as the months tick by, then you realize, okay, we got work to do here. You know, we really have to bring, and I mean, and then it all depends on how each individual in that couple goes about it. But the most important thing is, are we talking about gelling the two different styles into that, and the two shall become one? You know, because I can feel like what I'm doing is right, right? And then she says to me, "No, but you can't do that." I said, "No, but what do you mean? This is the correct thing to do. I have the conviction, so if I'm feeling okay about it, then it must be fine." You know, and that kind of thing. And then he comes in with a different angle, and then you realize, okay, all right, we Houston, we have a problem here, and we need to, you know, gel the styles together, and eventually, you know, we find each other as we go along, and but it's important to get that first year. That foundation has got to be solid, because that's what you're building upon. For year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. You can't now start building the foundation in the 5th year. You got to build it from the word in the first year, and everything else, goes from there. So unity and communication, and we're still learning about communication even after 10 years.
True.
And
all right, so that was year 1.
Yes, we then spoke about dates, and we had a lot of people commenting on the issue of dates. We've always wanted to celebrate milestones. From the first month, I remember Aunt Pat, who was our wedding planner, she'd laugh and say, "You guys celebrate your month anniversaries every month, every 14th." We got married on the 14th. Every 14th in our first year would go. And in fact, for a very long time, we kept it up, even when we had kids. Every 14th would go out, and we'd try and buy each other very small presents. We had a cap on the amount, which was $10, but we would buy something, you know, on the 14th, and then we had the dates. But we talked about how crucial the dates became when we had our daughter. So that was a big thing, and we spoke about Skype dates when we were locked down during in Zimbabwe. So that was another very critical thing, which we still love, which we still do in many different forms. We try and be creative. Just the other day, KK was like, "Can't we have a date on our balcony?" You know, so it's something that, you know, you just try and work out and make sure, you know, you still have it.
So, you know, earlier when I was thinking about this chat that we're going to have, you know, I just wondered if someone was to say to you, is it because of the work that you have put in the marriage, that you have the kind of marriage that you have, or it's simply because for you, KK, you know, it's just a blessing that you got a good wife, and, you know, vice versa, and which may not be everybody. It's just you guys were lucky in it, if we put it that way, or you were just blessed to get a good spouse. What would be your take on that?
I think it's all of the above. Everything that you've mentioned is very relevant to the question that you've just asked. Look, the preparation that each one does as an individual is absolutely vital. Prayer played a very significant role in our lives. So that definitely helped, in the sense that I knew what I wanted in a spouse. She also knew what she wanted in a spouse. We found each other, and then we started praying together, because we now realized that God had brought us together and we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. But the preparation that we did as individuals was absolutely key. You know, how was I preparing myself as a young man? How was she preparing herself as a young woman? And then even when we got to know each other, how then did we then marry that, you know, together to say, okay, this is how we are going. So it was a combination of, yes, we were blessed. I was blessed to have definitely get her. And
same goes,
and likewise. But that didn't stop there. I don't think it was luck. It was destiny. Let me call it that. She's a destiny partner. She's not a lucky partner.
Lucky.
So it's someone that I believe that God had ordained, or has ordained for me. And I have absolutely every conviction in that sense, that if you are out there and you pray for a spouse and you ask God to guide you in that direction, He definitely will lead you to the right person. And the rest is just grace. I mean, it's just His grace that has brought us this far. And So I would say, all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would also want to say, in a lot of marriages, sometimes you find one person is not 100% into it. And I think that's also a very key part, that both of you have to want it to work. If one person doesn't want it to work, it's very difficult for the other person to pull both your weight. So I think, so both of you have to be in it and want it to work. And then also the prayer part and the hard work part, you know, whatever course we can do on marriage, we try and do it, and we have fun with it. And then we put it in the work of filling the love tank and, you know, the dates and all that other stuff. So yeah, like you said, it's all of the above.
So KK, are you just naturally a romantic, or did you have to learn, or Tafadzwa, did you have to school him? Did you remind
those
him?
videos with pressure, bro.
You know what, my sister? When I was in high school, my science teacher, a gentleman by the name Mr. John Ngubi, I will never forget that man. He once said to us one day when we walked into his classroom, says, "Guys, someone who does not know that he does not know." So basically, I had to learn because I didn't know, you know.
Wow.
And I thought I knew, you know, but until you find yourself in a situation, I actually don't know, you know, and I actually don't know how to behave around ladies. I don't actually know how to approach. I don't know actually how to, you know, look for a potential spouse. And then when we met each other, guys, back in the days in cross culture, you know the story. I will not even go there. You know, we had some life lessons in that group, you know, and I think those are the things that I can look back at and say that was good training ground for me and my wife, in the sense that it gave us the grounding that and the footing that we needed to be able to move forward. So I was not a natural, Ivy. I was not. I really had to learn, you know, and I didn't get to 100% prior to the wedding. You know, even after we got married, I was still learning, because I realized then that's when we talked about the love languages. Remember, that's, you know, I didn't know all that stuff. You know, all those things then came into play a little later. But no, yeah, it was hard work, definitely. Yeah, it was very hard work. But yeah, we thank God that it worked out, and it's working out very well now.
But I would actually say KK is a natural giver. So I think that part comes naturally to him. When we met, he kept wanting to give me all the stuff, you know. And I'm like, we've just met, you know. Why do you want to buy me this and why? You know, I was so suspicious. I was like, I'm so suspicious. Like, no, why does he want to buy me this stuff? You know, we just met. So why does he want to do this, you know? But naturally he's a giver, like we were talking about earlier. I'm the budgety one. He's the let's spread the love kind of person. And so I think that part is natural to him. So when it came to the romance part, as in, oh, okay, I should buy flowers instead of buying this, it was just an addition to who he already is. Yeah.
Right. Wow. You know, like we said in the beginning, that there's just always that one spouse who is like this and the other one who is like that. And so identifying who does what and who's like, and really bringing that out, you know, and making that more prominent, that okay, he's a giver, and it's easier for a giver to morph into a romantic, you know, and then not necessarily expecting, like in our case where she expects me to be like
no,
she has to coach me and allow me to come into my own, understanding that, you know, this guy has a budget mentality. So he's not just gonna go and buy flowers just for the sake of it. But he can grow into it. But if he doesn't, it's not an occasion for me to be mad at him and to be moody for the whole week and whatnot. It's just understanding that, okay, that's how my spouse is wired. But just because that's how you're wired doesn't mean that, you know, you can't learn other things. Like you're saying, KK, he who does not know that they don't know.
I think the challenge there, and for most women like me, I think the challenge is the precedence that was set before you got married. So if the precedence, if the bar was high, you know, you expect that to maintain. So between the two of you, who would you say is the most romantic?
I would say he is, because he's the natural giver. Yeah, I'm just more sentimental, but I think he's more romantic. He will, you know, say we should do this, or he actually keeps us on the go on the dates as well. And so I would think, and he will just buy something out of the blue or something. So
nice. All right, so we've just done year 1 and year 2. Let's go. Talk to us about year 3.
So year 3 was about surrender to God, because we were going through some serious financial issues, and they had basically built up. It wasn't like in 1 year, but they built up to the stage where they were the worst in this year. So we really had to learn to pray together about, firstly, we needed to learn to talk about financial issues until we got to a place of agreement and a oneness concerning our finances, or lack thereof, and get to a place of praying together seriously and surrendering to God. So I think, that's what year 3 was about.
When you say we had to learn to talk about finances, what does that mean? Because if we're talking we need $5 for bread, we need $5 for bread. What do you mean we needed to learn to talk about finances?
Okay, you can go.
Yeah, I think what we are driving at is, you know, there was, if I speak from my perspective, I was still in the phase where I didn't see the value of reporting to headquarters about how much money we had. You know, I remember I was talking about the first year and trying to shake off cobwebs and trying to start on a new chapter. So here we are. And I wouldn't say that by the time we got to the 3rd year, we had migrated a bit from the first year, but we were still in the phase where we needed to understand the importance of declaring anything and everything that we have, bring it to the table and say, okay, this is what we have. Okay. Right. Now, if we bring a united front, Baba and Mariavo and Maiva and Mariavo, we bring it to the table and say, okay, this is what we have. We pray about it. We thank God for what is coming to the home. And then we ask for his guidance in how we're supposed to distribute it and take care of the things in the household. And I think because I hadn't learned that lesson enough as we were going into our 3rd year, you know, there has to be something that reminds you of the importance of bringing the finances to the table. Hence a crisis. So a crisis, it brings you together, whether you like it or not. You're going to have something that's going to, you know,
it can tear you
apart. Exactly. So something like that could have quite easily, in some marriages, we read about guys getting divorced after a year or 2, you know, and that finances is something that can tear a marriage apart to the point where people get divorced. But we didn't want that. We wanted to be able to learn what the lesson. Obviously, there was a reason why we were going through what we were going through at the time, and we needed to learn the lesson. And for me, for us, really, that was what it was about. God wanting us to understand that we are a united front here. Everything that we've learned in year 1 and year 2 is now building up. It's a continuation. And now you're going into year 3 with the lessons that you've learned in year 1, year 2. You're supposed to be getting better. But if you're not, you know, something is going to happen along the road that reminds you of the things that are important. And finances was one of them, you know. So it's no secret. I mean, we were in an environment, as you know, where things were fluctuating, things were not, you know, happening well economically in the country at the time and even now. But this is when that's one of the true tests that comes that can really shake a marriage to its core. You know, how are you going to manage the resources that you have that are coming in, you know, and what gets priority, what doesn't, all those things, you know. So yeah, I mean, that's really what it was. And bringing our point to the point, as my wife was saying, to the point of just surrendering that to God and saying, please help us understand how we're supposed to navigate this.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. And I think for me, I think we had different perspectives. For me, I sort of knew the amount he was getting paid. Mine was varying from month to month, but his was sort of, you sort of know. But at this stage in year 3, the amount he was getting had changed. And we found ourselves in a place where the money we were both getting was not enough. And it was, a financial strain. And sometimes that happens in marriage. But you have to get to a place where you talk about your frustrations. He has to tell me that I'm frustrated, that I'm not getting enough, like what I want. And I have to say, I'm fearing, women is about security. I need to know that we're able to do what we're supposed to do. And in this year, we had a baby. I need to know that we're going to get diapers. I need to know. But, we grew in our faith. We got to a place of surrender and faith to believe that God was going to provide when he said he was going to provide. So in the end, I think this lesson was more important than even the breakthrough we got later because the peace came before the breakthrough.
Yeah.
I like what you said, Tafadzwa, where you point out that for women it's about security. And I think that's where most of our struggles are when we have financial issues, because I want to feel secure. So I'm going to say, tell me where we are going to get, how are we going to pay for school fees?
Yeah.
The term is about to start. Yeah. I need you to tell me how we're going to pay for rent at the end of this month. And I think it puts on the husband, because like you're saying, at that moment, the income is not enough, but we are demanding answers because we want that security.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to be in a place where you did not demand those answers from him?
And even if you did demand the answers from him, but how also did you get to a place where you can still find security even though you still don't know where the money is going to come from?
Yeah.
I think for me, I got to a place to understand what he can provide and what God can provide. I think you have to get to a place of differentiating that, okay, this is now beyond him. And if I put pressure on him, it will just drive him down. It's not going to lift him up. It's not going to encourage him. It's just going to drive him down because he already knows what's needed. I don't have to be coming every day and saying, we need Mariema Gates or whatever. He already knows what's needed. I don't have to I know he didn't get the money from work. So why am I telling him about it? Do I want him to steal? It was now when you have to know as a woman of God that this is now beyond him. How do I help him? But I have to go to someone higher than him, which was God. And I had to get to that place of faith where there was a day I remember there was like almost nothing in the kitchen. He says, he didn't tell me. And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. Because inside I was thinking, even if I told him that we don't have this, we don't have that, this is like 10 things, you'd get overwhelmed in just 1 minute. But I had to get to a place of faith that God is going to provide what we need for that day without me bogging him down. My job at that time was to encourage him to get out, to be able to see the future like God was seeing it for him. And that's the job of a helper. You're supposed to remind the king of the vision that he's forgotten in the time of being overwhelmed. So yeah.
So good.
And but what's the balance though between knowing that this is something that is beyond him and actually wanting to drive him to do more than what he's doing? I remember watching, there's a movie that always, no matter how many times I watch it, it makes me cry. So we were watching this movie, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
John Q. Yeah,
so there's a part where the wife, because the child is sick and they don't have money for the operation. So anyway, there's the part where this woman says to him, do something.
I remember that part. Yeah.
But the passion that she had when she was instructing him to do something, I was like, hey, oh my God. But it made him creative.
Yeah, but it made him creative in the wrong way.
I think, again, even at that point, right, I think I knew he was going to work. It wasn't like he wasn't going to work. He was doing everything he could. And he was even saying, you would think about ideas. What can I do? What else can I do besides my work? What else can I? So it wasn't like he was sitting. It's different for someone who's saying, I don't want to work or I don't want to do anything. He was actually putting everything he could into this thing. And in that season, it was just not budging. And so you begin to see beyond that. Even if I try and put pressure on him and say, do something, he's going to go maybe at gunpoint and rob someone. What else is he going to do? You know?
Yeah.
So I think we also have to be sensitive as women. Sometimes you get so passionate, like, you know, we get overwhelmed. But if you load your husband with the things that he cannot provide, he won't be able to carry the weight.
So for you, KK, what did her response to the situation do to you as a man? When you think back of that time, what did it do for you?
Initially, I was very surprised because I was expecting a greedy,
do something,
a do something, you know, that kind of a thing. And you know, thank God that a do something didn't come in the manner that it came in John Q. But a do something came in the form of encouragement. A do something came in the form of knowing my love language, you know, and so she rose up to the plate in that fashion, in that sense that, you know, I've got to encourage this guy. This is the man of the house. This is the priest of the home. This is the guy who's got the vision for the family. And if I do not support him now, then this family is pretty much done. Right? And I think this is what we need to understand, that when crisis comes, that is not the time to blame each other. That is not the time to kick the other guy down, especially. And I'm not pointing the finger at the wives here. You know, I'm just simply saying that the husband has got a lot of pressure in the sense that he is the guy who is mandated to provide for his family. And there's nothing as disheartening as not being able to provide for your family as a man. You know, you just feel you are worth it. You just feel like, you know, what is this all about? I mean, at that time, she was actually getting more than I was from the projects that she was doing. Now you can imagine, you know, what that does to your psyche. You know, you come home, you even when it's time to do the budget, you don't have any leverage. You know, you don't have any. You're just simply a passenger here now. You have to just sit down and listen to what Amai is saying, and what Amai says goes. You know, and this is what's happening in some households today. But thank God, this is not what happened in our household. This was like, okay, KK, this is what I got from this project. I know you got this, you know, all right. And we collectively put everything in one pot. And so, okay, what are we going to do now? You as the head of the home, let's decide now, lead us in how we're going to do this. So it's like I said, the first instance, to me, I was really surprised at the way she responded to me, you know. But so that really it unsettled me a bit. I thought, what's she thinking? Maybe she's reported me, you know, and things like that. I'm gonna start getting some pseudo phone calls to say, Baba, you know, get your act together, you know, that kind of thing. But none of that happened. She, I mean, it was beautiful to see. And I think, you see, this is where God says, where there's unity, there God commands a blessing. There was unity in the home. And God, and we just brought up our 2 loaves and 5 fish, you know, and we said, God, this is what we have, you know. If we feed 5,000, what can we do? And the rest is history. I mean, we had enough to get around with whatever we needed to do in the home, and even to give our family some few goodies from time to time, you know, and share the little that we had with people that were around us. So we saw miracles happening during that time.
That's so good, because, you know, it also comes out of your conduct, KK, when in the time where things were good, in the times where you were okay, you know. How were you relating with Tafadzwa? Because I know we know a couple where, you know, in the times where things were good for the husband, he was mean. You know, he really was, you know, pushing his wife down, and things turned around. And tables turned, and all of a sudden the wife is now making more. She's been promoted, and, you know, she gets perks from work and all sorts of things. And now she's now revenging. Unfortunately, you know, she's now hitting back and saying, you know, during the time when you were making money, you were doing this to me. Now I'm going to do that to you. Press down, check it together, and running over. And you're going to see you know, and it's a very sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
It's like, so I think it speaks volumes when you have a situation where the husband is not making as much as the wife, but yet they still respect the home and he's still getting his place. It also speaks volumes. Not only does it speak volumes of the wife, but it also speaks volumes of what the husband was like when things were okay, were good for him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so that's year 3. So take us to year 4. We are, fast running out of time, so we need to move.
Yeah.
Okay, year 4 was a year of communication. I think we went on a marriage cruise. It was actually a cruise for the weekend, so that couples couldn't run away. There was water all around, and it was more about communication, but this time crucial conversations, which was really just talking about the sensitive issues, being able to say there is nothing off the table in our marriage. We can talk about anything, and especially the crucial conversations, the things that you say, I'm not happy about this, but you are afraid maybe how your spouse will respond. And we were able to talk about those issues. And at that time, I was actually pregnant, so it was particularly emotional for me.
Right.
Yeah. So, but then I had an excuse. I was pregnant, so I could cry. Like, fine.
I mean, people out there might say, okay, what are crucial conversations? You know, what are you guys talking about? We had to get to a place, and it was a very difficult period for me to be able to open up. You know, as they say, you guys don't open up. You know, tough. But this course really helped us understand the importance of talking about the deeper things in a relationship. You know, I was surprised. I mean, so you do a module, and then you then be given time as a couple to go and discuss the module in your cabin, right? And then she burst out crying. So I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? You know? Yeah, I mean, and then that led to something that I had not been paying particular attention to, which was very dear to her.
Yeah,
you know, and so it was really teaching couples the importance of listening.
Yeah,
all right, to someone, not just talking. You know, can you? And you know, and we're not talking about going out, having a cup of coffee, having a laugh here and there. You know, now you're really going into the crux of the matter. You know, what you would call the holy of holy discussions. You know, so as opposed to the outer court and inner court kind of stuff. You know, you're talking about stuff that's life-changing, that's destiny-changing, you know, that requires that people really lay their cards on the table and say, where we at, you know. In crucial conversation, nothing is off the table. So if there's an issue with in-laws, it has to be discussed and it has to be
There's nothing like, hey, this is my mother, you don't
go
there.
No. Yeah, and by the way, your mother is not my mother.
Yeah, so
you can't talk to my family about
our
that.
mother.
No, it's our family. You see, the moment we're still having your family and my family, there's a problem. You know? So we needed to break the ice concerning those kind of things. And we had kind of like been going around, trading carefully around those things. But the time came now that we had to really, okay, how do we do this? Okay, how do we support your side of the family? How do we support? And at the end of the day, how do we support our family? If we can get to that our part, that's the key. Our family, not you, Yako, no. You know, so and a whole lot of other type of discussions. But
how do you get yourself? How do you brace yourself to hearing things about yourself from your spouse that are very undesirable? Like without retorting and without fighting back and without then saying, okay, well, I do this.
So let me tell you about
you. How do you take it in? How do you take it in and actually think about it to say, you know what, this is making sense and I need to change A, B, C, and D about myself?
I think the key thing is in how it's put across. Because if it's coming across as a strong accusation, the instinct is to defend yourself. But if it's being brought up across as, you know what, this is how I'm feeling, I'm hurt because of this, and it's being brought up across in a sensible manner, not in an accusatory manner that, you're so stupid, you do this, definitely there'll be that defense. But I think if it's brought across in a manner that, is respectful and yet still showing the weightiness of the situation or the weightiness of the issue, then you can actually sit down and think about it and talk about it. Because some issues you don't necessarily resolve then, but it makes you think, and then you can come back and say, you know what you were talking about at that time. And I think it's about being vulnerable. If you are still feeling like I've got an ego, I cannot be told that, or that is out of, my league, then you will not be able to take that. It takes a humility and it takes a vulnerability to be able to say, okay, I didn't know I was like that, but and then actually thinking about it, because a lot of the time you don't want to think that maybe I'm like this. Actually sitting down and thinking about it, saying, okay, so this is me, and what do I have to do to change this? And
So what would you say it did for your marriage, having that kind of conversation? And is it a once-off? Like, did you load off, on each other that one episode and it's done and dusted, we are good and free now? Or it's something that, you keep having to do?
Crucial conversations, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, is an ongoing exercise. It's not something that's a once-off, because there are always going to be issues that crop up in marriage. And the sooner those issues are dealt with in the appropriate manner, the better. So it's definitely, it relates to different scenarios. In one day it can be a family matter. The next day it could be a medical issue. Maybe someone is sick. Maybe one of you has got a life-threatening disease. You got to have a crucial conversation. What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? All these things. So it's you're always going to be having crucial conversations. It's necessary to keep the health aspect in a marriage. If you're not having crucial conversations, you're going for months on end without having some sort of a discussion that really causes you to think a bit and really begin to readjust a few things as you go on your walk together. Then you got to really reevaluate that, because it's really to maintain the health aspect of the conversation, of the marriage. And here's the thing about crucial conversations: depending on what the issue is, had in a way that demeans the other individual. It is a conversation that is meant to make the marriage better.
Right.
It may be tough. There may be tears. There may be silence for a while, but at the end of the day, the conversation was brought on the table. And from that conversation, we were able to evaluate where we are in that particular situation and how we're going to move forward. Because it must always be solution-based. You can't just have a conversation and just say, all right, so I've got that off my chest.
No.
Okay, so and then what? Where do we go from here? So it's progressive, and it's done in a manner that does not demean the other person.
Wow.
And I think what it did for marriage as well is it took the communication deeper, not only about crucial conversations, but I think heart-to-heart talks are also part of the Holy of Holies kind of communication. Because when you become vulnerable to each other and humble to each other, you are no longer afraid to tell each other about your fears. You're no longer afraid to tell each other about your shortcomings or how you're feeling about a certain situation that, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm feeling vulnerable in this regard, or, you're able to have, and in a lot of our dates, we ask each other where you at. Because if you can't tell your spouse where you really at, you smile all around there, but you've got to be able to tell your spouse, hey, I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling overwhelmed. And every time we do that, we leave with a smile, because it feels therapeutic. You've actually spoken heart to heart, deep issues about where you're at. We've encouraged each other, and we've come out feeling stronger. So I think that's what it also did for marriage. And I think that's important.
That's so good. That's so good. Okay, now, so, I think we're just going to do 5, 6, 7.
I don't know which one is.
Well, year 5 really was building upon that. We found now, because we'd broken the ice with the communication thing, it was now easier for us to approach each other on various issues. So we were basically leaning on each other now,
Yeah.
So when one was down, one could pick the other one up, and when the other one was down, it really began, the pieces of the puzzle were now coming together, from year 1 all the way to year 5. So it was really now strengthening that first 4 years that we'd had, and really that's what I would say, really. It was really about, and then we had the birth of our son around about that time as well, 2015.
Yeah. And I think it was teamwork from that time. I think we brought out the teamwork in different ways, but like year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it was basically teamwork, just knowing that I need help this part, or he's gonna lift me up, or I'm gonna do this role, you do that role, and and all that kind of stuff. When we moved to Hong Kong, that was a faith thing. We prayed together. We learned to really be praying together and increasing our faith together. And we mentioned in our videos that the evenings became very important for planning.
Right.
It was teamwork. Even when we moved, it was teamwork. And we continue to do that teamwork. So I think those are the main things, even leading up to our 10th anniversary. We were now working as a team.
Maybe talk to us a little bit about the children, because kids are blessings from God, but things can escalate very quickly, with regard to kids. Competition, and there's attention. Now mom's a new mom and is now giving all her attention to the babies, and now dad is like, okay, so what about me? Where do I fit in this whole equation? How did you guys handle that?
I think in the videos we spoke about how we started purposefully going on our dates when we had the kids. So we started going on dates when they're 6 weeks. I know it feels like they're very young, but then we just do even an hour. So even from earlier, I started expressing milk to make sure that the baby's okay when I'm gone, even for an hour, and just testing how it is. You just go 5 minutes away and you make sure. So we try to keep that aspect of our marriage alive by purposefully having time away from the children. So whether it was dates or weekend aways, or sometimes they would go or whatever, it was purposefully setting aside time so that the kids are not taking over our lives. So even here in Hong Kong, we can spend the whole day with the kids. Now it's like homeschooling, but we still say, we're going on a walk, and we'll go maybe for an hour or 2 or something, just to spend time for the 2 of us, so that it's not, or even when they sleep, we can find time just to be together. So I think you can always find time to be together instead of watching TV or being on your phone after the kids sleep, and making sure the kids sleep. And so that you can have that time. Your kids, if they sleep at midnight, then there's no time for you guys. So
I think it was being deliberate. Once the kids came, you guys would know this. We really had to be purposeful about, because at the end of the day, it's easy for a couple to fade away, to slip away, because they're not doing. The excuse now is just work, and so we can't really, we don't have time for ourselves. No. You have to actually be very deliberate about it. Say, we're gonna have our dates on Thursdays. Okay. Or is it if I find that way, that if we have a set date, then we know we look forward to Thursday. Then we know that this amount of time is going to be blocked off. We're going to be doing this. I mean, yes, there's the occasional 1 or 2 times where something else might come up and we have to reschedule. But diarize it. Be purposeful. Right? That this is date night. It was being, how then would we, keep our sanity and keep fresh and keep the spice going. If we didn't have those opportunities to
So in your videos, the one thing that I also picked up, and I remember mentioning to Simba, is that you guys didn't do marriage alone. You mentioned a lot of people that were involved in your marriage. Do you think that's what sets a marriage, a good marriage, from a struggling marriage? Do you think that's what sets it apart?
I think that's one of the things. Yeah, definitely. You're always going to have to be learning. We are lifelong students here on earth, and we must have that culture of continuously learning.
Yeah.
And there are other marriages out there that, are great examples. We actually have them, and it's being around couples that you can pick up one or two days. Oh, I like how the way they do that.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is you don't know everything. You never know everything.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be someone who's going to be better at than you in something, or have one or two other things that you don't have yourself, that you can incorporate in your marriage. So we made it a point that we needed to identify in that video series couples that we felt were very instrumental and that continue to be instrumental today to the way we are running our lives, and we have to be together. There's strength in numbers, and you can definitely learn one or two things from other people that can definitely help you as well as a couple. So that has become a very, very important aspect of our lives as well, to continuously learn from other people.
Yeah. And you become what you behold.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying you become what you behold. So if you're surrounded by bad marriages, you start just thinking, maybe my husband's also irritating.
Yeah.
But I think if you're surrounded by good marriages, like you guys, you don't talk negative about your spouse because that's basically what you're surrounded by. Yeah.
For KK, was this always a thing for you to be okay with having other people around? Because I know, especially for men, it's a big deal for men to say, what, I'm not gonna air my dirty laundry to other people, and I can't be told how to run my own home by another man, He should run his own home first, before he comes to try to tell me about running my own home. How do you sort of transition into that role where you're open to actually receive counsel from other people?
Yeah, it was always a big thing for me, Simba. And I think being a young man growing up in our days in the young adults group, we had already seen people that had gone ahead of us, that were examples of, how a marriage should be, So we had examples even as in our peer group, and even as older folk that we could always relate to, because this was uncharted territory. There was no way I was gonna go on a journey like that, which is really a destiny-defining journey, and not have a reference. It's like someone who gets on an aeroplane, and you don't even you're supposed to be flying to Mutare, and then you end up in Vic Falls. That kind of a thing. You didn't have a compass, you didn't have no navigation, no nothing. You just went on a journey that you had no direction. So we needed a reference point. We needed to know where we were going, and we needed examples to get us to that destination. So yeah, it was crucial. And I understand you, Simba, when you say it is particularly to men. You want to be we're very defensive. We don't want to open up too much to other men and lay out our cards on the table. And I think for me, one of the ways that I handled that was I prayerfully put my request to the Lord and said, I need men around me, God, that will be able to give me good advice. We need a couple. We need couples that, Lord, are going to be good examples for us. So that helped. That definitely helped. And you'll pick up these couples as you go along. I like that. I like it. I don't like that. I don't know, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Okay, just for fun, do you guys still kiss? I mean, it's been 10 years. Do you just randomly non-sexual kissing?
Wow. Well, we do kiss.
Yeah, we do.
And our kids will go ill, but
yeah.
It just comes and goes over the years. There are days when you feel, oh my gosh, I really love this person, and then there's some days you're just going through the day, But I think just filling each other's love tanks, I think, brings that intimacy. So it brings back that aspect. Yeah.
That's so good.
And you still hold hands?
Yeah. We do.
Yeah, when we go on our walks, we hold hands. And when there are no kids around, it just feels like, oh, we're young again.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I think we've just run out of time, but it's been an amazing conversation. And again, well done with the 10 years, and we look forward to 100 more.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, guys.
Well done,
It's been a pleasure. And God bless you guys.
All right.
Thank you so much. Love you guys.
Love you
Love
too.
you too, guys.
Bye.
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 All right, guys. So that was the conversation that we had with Tafadzwa and KK. Well, you know, it's so amazing how time just flies when you're having so much fun. So we obviously did not manage to cover every single detail of the 10 years that they've been married. But I'd like to believe that what we've been able to touch on was vital, and that there was someone here. There's someone here who needed to hear that.
And so for me, what I found so profound about this conversation that we had was you know how KK mentioned that his teacher taught him that
you don't know.
A man who doesn't know doesn't know that he doesn't know.
Yeah, correct.
So
correct.
We will never know that we don't know better in marriage until we expose ourselves to knowledge. So as couples, let's make every effort to make sure that we're exposed to as much information, as much knowledge, as much teaching as we possibly can concerning the institution of marriage, so that we can become better husbands and better wives, so that we can also build stronger families.
100%. And you know, like we mentioned earlier on, that what they were able to do was they were able to document their journey. It's so important to document your journey, whatever you're going through. Even if you're going through something right now that you would rather forget quickly, that you'll be in a hurry to forget, still document that, because when you're out of it, you need something to look back to say, you know what, we were once in a pit, but we came out, and you know, this is what we were feeling during that time, and this is what we're going through during that time, and it becomes such a major highlight for you. And also share your story. You have no idea how many people will be touched just by you talking about some of the things that you have gone through and some of the things that you're going through. Do you know that there are people right now who are in such serious situations that they cannot see any lights, they cannot see hope, and they really think that, you know, things are done. But when they begin to hear you share stories of your marriage, of where you have been and how you have come out of you know, situations like that, they get hope, they get inspiration, and you know, they get to live to fight another day, you know. So it's important for you to share your story. And also another thing that for me was that they said, I think they said without actually saying it, is the importance of investing in your marriage. You heard them talk about, you know, going on a cruise. You heard them talking about, you know, going on date nights. You heard them talking about, you know, doing seminars, you know, seminars about marriage, you know, and even when we really became close to them, it was because we were doing a seminar, a 10-week marriage course that we were doing together. And you know, it's investing in your marriage. So it's very important to invest in your marriage. You invest in everything else that you think is valuable and is important. So I think, you know, a marriage is also good enough for you to invest in, because when your marriage is solid, a whole lot of other things just fall into place. So it's very vital. It's key to always invest in your marriage.
So that's it from us, from Mr. and Mrs. I'm Ivy.
Simba.
Mr. and Mrs.
And remember,
keep on loving.
keep on loving. Bye-bye.